Welcome to Embracing the Bold Radio Hour, where we explore the vibrant arts, entertainment, and design scene right here at Valencia College. Join us as we chat with students, faculty, and artists about their journeys, inspirations, and professional experiences. Each episode unveils the creative pulse of our campus, offering insights into the world of artistry and education. Let's delve into the heart of creativity together right here on Embracing the Bold. We're so glad you joined us today, and I'm your host, Rebecca Lane. Hi, we're glad you're here. So today we have Leo Cordova talking about his show that's opening in our Anita Wooten Gallery on Thursday, September 19th. We'll have that opening reception at 6 p.m. And we're really excited to talk to him today. Before we get started, I want to remind you that we have a robust arts season coming up, and including the event, the art gallery opening on Thursday, September 19th, we have a musical coming up, Return to the Forbidden Planet. It is a rock and roll mashup, Shakespearean mashup musical that is going to be celebrating the aesthetic of 70s glam and some really ridiculous dance moves and Shakespearean text. So I recommend you come and check that out. Also, on October 13th, we have the Symphonic Jazz Band Halloween concert. That is a concert not to be missed. It's during the day. It's at 11:30 a.m., and it's a great opportunity to see our students do some amazing performance work and to see a lot of folks in really great costumes. So I strongly recommend those events. Oh, and finally, on Thursday, September 19th, we are hosting Don Quixote and USA at the Osceola campus in the Building 1 Auditorium. This is a guest theatrical company that is performing Don Quixote in Spanish. And it's just a great opportunity to see the show. It is a free performance, and we would love to see you there. All right. So let's get on to our conversation. Hi, Leo.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me here today.
We're glad you're here. And we also have Farron, our gallery director. Hi, Farron.
Hello.
Great. So I'm glad you guys are here. Leo, can you tell me a little bit about the show? What are we going to see?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for saying my last name correctly, because I feel like I get to be me today. And in previous interviews, I've been iterations of myself with a different last name. So I'm here. The show, I'm really excited about it. This show, it's pretty much a culmination. It brings together two important body of works of in my career, both of them dealing with the landscape subject matter, but dealing with it in a metaphorical way. These are paintings that I started about anywhere from 5 to 6 years now ago to stuff that I did like a couple months ago, actually. And it's pretty much a dichotomy in color. You're going to be able to, when people walk into the show, especially before here, Farron, you were showing me around, and I don't know if that's going to be the final layout, but I'm interested in that, how the pieces talk to each other. I saw all of my regular landscapes, as I would call them, with greenery in one side, and then all of these red, flushy, vivid landscapes that are like newer on the other side, kind of like talking to each other. So that's something that I thought was like actually interesting. But yeah, this show is gonna be about the landscape as a metaphor, telling kind of my story in a way, and people are gonna be able to see, like I said, both of my most important bodies of work from years ago and now.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So within our Anita Wooten Gallery, we end up showcasing a lot of different artists and a lot of different mediums. So can you tell us a little bit about what medium is your artwork in?
Yeah. So most of these paintings are actual canvas stretched by myself, and I like to get hands-on with my art, and just because it's a painting doesn't mean that I can treat it like a sculpture. So I'm gonna start. I build my frames myself, and I stretch the canvas. And these are all applied with acrylic paint. My compositions are pretty abstract when you look at them from up close, although they tighten a little bit from afar. They become more of the actual composition. But in order for this to work while I'm making the paintings, I do a overlayering of colors that I need for them to dry as quick as possible so that I can continue the process. And with acrylic paints, I'm able to do that just perfectly fine. Also in this show, there's going to be a couple works on wood and paper. So that are also done with acrylic. So
okay, so wood and paper and hand-stretched canvas, and your primary paint is acrylic paint.
100%, yeah.
And you're using acrylic paint because it allows you to let things dry quickly and layer and layer and layer.
Yeah, it also, in a fun, like not so serious way, it adds to the conversation that these are clearly not landscapes. Haha, it's not a pipe, but it's clearly plastic, like acrylic paint. It's just plastic, so it's just funny how you're able, if you think about it from that point of view, it's not like traditional oil where it's a great master's painting oil. Like when I think about my paintings, it's like I'm just applying like plastic to create something that is non-plastic, like from plastic to organic, so visually. So I don't know, I find all these little self jokes or like little bits of humor within my work that I enjoy sometimes, so it's fun.
Oh, that's really neat. So I want to back up a little bit and talk about your journey. So one of the things that I hope that we get out of this is that, our artists come from everywhere. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I hope our students can see is like the different artist journeys and what brings everybody to the thing that we all end up gathering around, right? So how did you get into fine art in the first place? What drew you to it?
I think that it without sounding corny, fine art has always been with me. Since I was a kid, I first of all, I was born in Cuba. I'm Cuban American painter, and my childhood over there, I remember all my friends always in the street playing, being boys, and I always had a tendency to go for the crafts, the putting the Legos together, but let's also paint the Legos, and and then let's make stamps with the Legos, and from there, my parents, my sisters, I have two sisters, they were some of the first people that got me art supplies. Within the possibilities of living in Cuba in the early 90s or early 2000s, and I just started drawing, and my mom actually realized that for the age at the time, I wasn't doing your typical stick figures. I would like at least cover the whole page, and I remember having all of my drawings for years behind like a door, and all that. So those are like some of my first memories when I think about art.
Okay.
So that's why I say that it's been with me since I was a kid. So as you grow old, there is just something that makes sense. You just tend to stick to some things, or not. In my particular case, immigrating, I feel like that art was one of those things that I perhaps clinged on to when I was leaving everything behind and then coming to a new life. Because I could, just like you said, artists are from anywhere, and you just can make art anywhere. So I felt like very safe with that, and that led me to eventually painting. I used to be a drawer. I'm a trained drawer, but going through the process of college and then the university led me to painting, and I really enjoy it, and that's what I'm doing now. So
that's amazing. So did you study? When did you start formally studying, or did you? When did you? Oh, good Lord. Ha! The question is, did you start formally training in fine art? And if you did, when did that begin? So,
as a kid, I involved myself with different, as a teenager, as a kid, involved myself with different groups and organizations back in Cuba that will promote the arts and try to bring it to young audiences from from the very beginning of their life, and that led me to the Fine Arts Museum of Havana, which is the International Fine Art Museum, and they had a program that was one of the first classes that I took. Then I guess I took.
And how old were you?
I want to say like 12. Like
okay.
13.
So like at 12 years old, you took your first formal art class.
Right. Where they, where they teach you divide the human body in like 8, and like, the head is the same size in here, and like, anatomy and like little tricks and things to help you draw better, which I think are always like very impressive on a kid when you go from drawing like a face that is all like twisted to like, oh wow, that looks like more like a human. So but then when I came to the States, I definitely seeked that out in a more professional way, even from the early days in high school, and I think that comes attached to the connotation that I immigrated. I came to this country for the better. So, and if I'm having the opportunity to now pursue this, that has always been within me as what's going to be my life, like I'm going to do it in a serious way. So I definitely, I don't know, I was like groups in high school, like workshops, and then college, and then the university. Yeah,
that's great. And so, where did you go to high school?
I went to high school in Miami-Dade College. Miami-Dade, and it is called Southwest Miami High School.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been a while. I moved from there to Orlando, Florida. I finished my high school in Colonia High School.
Okay,
yeah.
So you went to high school both in Miami and in Orlando.
Yeah, because while I was still in high school, I moved from Miami to Central Florida, pretty much.
Okay, and at that point, were you still focusing on drawing?
Yeah, that's all I did. I would paint here and there, but all the classes that I was taking was like AP drawing and like screen printing, stuff like that. Nothing so much with actual color, like yeah.
And at that point, were you imagining that you would be a professional artist?
I always saw the connection and what people have to do to, I guess, survive, especially in the arts. So I always thought that I would end up teaching, but I don't know. I didn't see myself as a painter, for sure. I saw myself perhaps as a teacher, a professor, but doing more like lineal work, like graphite work, nothing with the color.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where did you so you said you studied art in college. Mm-hmm. Where did you go?
Here.
Aha!
Yeah.
So you were an alumni of Valencia College.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
That's amazing. Yeah. So why did you choose to come to Valencia College? There are so many places that you could go and study fine art.
Yeah. When I moved to Central Florida, I did that at the beginning of my senior year in high school. Yeah, it was the beginning of senior year. And that transition was pretty overwhelming on itself. So yet along thinking about, being the first person of my family in this country and going to school, there's so many opportunities, so many possibilities, like you said, that in itself was a little bit overwhelming to me. So I seeked out an experience that would be more perhaps hands-on or would allow me to have a more one-on-one interaction with a professor. So in coming to Valencia, I found just the right amount of students within a classroom so that, professors can still have that impact on you, one-on-one interaction. It's not like we were saying before, being in a classroom where you're like sitting down and you have like 500 other kids and you don't want to raise your hand perhaps or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I think that seeking out that one-on-one interaction, because I was so serious about like I need to do this for my life, for a living, and I don't know perhaps how to navigate that, so I need to ask everybody in my surrounding. I need to focus on it. I need to take all the classes. I think that it was a key element into like focusing into like what my path became.
That's great. And so when you chose Valencia, did you know at that point that you would be a professional artist, or were you still thinking you'd be a teacher?
So I thought I would be teaching, but then in taking other classes in here in Valencia, actually, I remember taking sculpture with Michael Galera, and being very hands-on made me feel like, as much as I can teach this or like would enjoy teaching, it doesn't compare to actually using the craft to like for what it's meant to be. So I think that it was at the beginnings of me realizing whether I teach or not, I'm going to have to be an artist as well, because it's within me. It's fun. I cannot abandon it, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So what did you learn here at Valencia? Like what did the classes that you took here add to your understanding of your craft and the idea of being an artist?
So early on, I remember taking very classes that I felt comfortable in, and I felt comfortable with drawing. So I took drawing, I took design, but then I remember taking painting with Ruma, Bajur, and maybe I'm pronouncing her last name incorrectly, but
I think it's Jabur.
Jabur, there you go. Thank you. But I remember taking painting with her, and they kind of stuck with me because I realized, I need to, not perhaps in a way that let me know like, oh, okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to be painting. But because I didn't feel comfortable with it, it perhaps made me seek out a way where I could feel when painting as comfortable as I am drawing. When I took this class with her, it was a very difficult class. We were doing pretty much observational painting. And mixing color, it's a different step. It's just taking it farther than the drawing, because you can have that drawing, you can like master the drawing, or you can just have the drawing and then paint on top of it. But I remember that it was so difficult that I was like, I want to enjoy this, and I need to find a way of finding my own way of painting, I guess. So that it becomes not necessarily a stylized way, but a way that I understand painting just the same way that I understand drawing. Does that make sense?
I think so. Okay. So what's the difference between painting and drawing?
Oh, there is so many differences. I don't know that I can tell you all.
I know what I see. I know what I see is different, but like what is... Because it sounds like you're talking about not just... Because you're not talking about the product.
Right.
You're talking about the experience of making the work, right?
100%.
Like that physical, kinesthetic experience.
Yeah. I feel like even when you're an organic drawer, right? When you're doing stuff that are from non-observation, when you're like utilizing perhaps the pen, the pencil on the paper in the same way that an abstract painter would, right? While still using drawing tools, it's still very structural. It's still very... It feels like it's constricted to what you have. Painting, it's just... It doesn't matter if you're using oils or... and don't take me wrong, I love drawing. This is not an attack on drawing. I love drawing, but painting, it's just so much more intimate. There is so many things that you can do with it. There is so many colors. You can buy the 3 primary colors and like have 70,000 different colors, and by mixing them. And that's something that, with drawing, you're very constricted to like the materials that you have, if we were talking about the materials. But I feel like going back to that intimacy, I feel like painting, mixing colors, the actual physicality of like grabbing it and like, applying it into a surface feels different. There is a different understanding that happens between the brain and the surface that you're applying, that you're making art in. It's completely different. It's just completely different. You're just processing that in a different way than if you were drawing. And I don't know how to explain this. I guess it's like a very, intimate thing. It's a personal thing. Yeah.
It's really exciting.
Yeah.
So what I hear you say is that drawing was like your gateway into art.
Right.
Drawing and design.
Right.
And then when you took the painting class, it made you uncomfortable, but uncomfortable in a way that kind of stimulated your creativity?
100%, yeah, because I wanted to understand what is it that I am doing wrong. Why am I not having fun with this? You know?
It wasn't fun at first.
No, it wasn't fun at first, and even once I went to UCF after Valencia, the first couple times I took a class, I was certified, and I really, really, really sucked at it. It was bad.
Wait, so that first class in painting didn't necessarily make you love it?
No, not at all. And I until almost pretty much my last 2 semesters or like 3 semesters at UCF, I was still pretty much divided. Am I gonna take the major into drawing or into painting? And then I think that allowing myself to not be as structural with the paint led me to painting more comfortably. Because I realized that what was happening is that I was thinking about it like a drawing, where you have to, you have your lines of composition, you have your perspective, you have structural elements that need to be there, unless you're doing like an abstract drawing with graphite or charcoal or something. And I was perhaps thinking that way with painting rather than just painting, and now the way I paint, it's just like I wouldn't call it I wouldn't call myself a painter's painter, but it's in a painter's painter way, where I don't even draw anymore. I just apply the paint and then it just starts evolving from there.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah. It reminds me, one of my disciplines is puppetry. And
wow.
I studied with a person who studied with a guy named Albrecht Roser. And Albrecht Roser was known for, he was a German marionettist, and he was known for making marionettes. And marionettes are the puppets with the strings. He was known for making marionettes that were incredibly intuitive to manipulate. And when you're making a marionette, and I'm simplifying the process dramatically here, but when you're making a marionette, there are 2 really basic ways to approach making it. You can take the material and force it to do what's in your head, or you can take the material and essentially ask it what it wants to do. And asking it what it wants to do is you're really investigating what is the balance, what does it remind me of? If I drop it 5 times, how does it drop? Well, why don't I use that point of gravity and stuff like that? But it ends up making marionettes that move as intended, because it's a lot of just listening to the material.
Right.
And so when I hear you talk about drawing as structural versus paint wants to do something different, it makes me think of that, the material, like listening to the material.
Yeah, I think it's a more intuitive understanding of it. Like when it's you understand the material better than you get to go deeper with it. You can do so many things with painting. You can be so flat. You can be so colorful. You can be, you could do so much with it. You could do so much. I feel like the possibilities are endless, and that perhaps always keeps you questioning. And I think, and this is just my opinion, maybe I'm completely wrong on it, but I also think that the way drawing, if we were to compare them, drawing and painting are thought, like the way like professors like approach them, drawing doesn't allow you to be creative in a perhaps abstract way. You almost always have to draw something, someone, an object. I don't know, but with painting, it's not like that. Like especially when you get into like abstract expressionism and things like that, it becomes so about the person that did it, but it's not perhaps like therapy work. It doesn't become therapy art, but it's just definitely like that in that personal realm. So yeah.
Yeah, well, and it sounds like the process of creating art for you is part of processing your own world and processing your feelings and processing your experience.
So. I would say so. Yeah. I think that painting for me, again, without it becoming like a therapy gateway or something like that, because it's not that. It's a way to it's like a diary, it's kind of like, because people are gonna see different things in my paintings, but I know exactly what they are to me. And especially in painting them, where your mind goes and wanders. Once my paintings are like, some of them are smaller, but some of them are pretty big, like 6x6 feet. And as you're creating them, you almost feel like you can I feel like I can walk into them sometimes. So your mind wanders, and sometimes that ends up changing the composition. Like, what if I was here? What would I want to how is the light hitting me in this specific way? If there's a tree in front of me, where would I go? Because I look at them as some sort of journey. What I've been. Even though I haven't been in them, I'm just merely using the landscape as a perhaps universal vehicle. That especially when I was, new to the States, and I didn't even know the language, I found that nature, it's something that it doesn't matter where you come from, we all understand. I could go to a park and enjoy a nice day surrounded by trees, and I will find people around me, and you don't have to say hi. You just everybody's enjoying nature. So I feel like that in itself, it's powerful, because you don't need a language to convey something. You can just experience it through something that we all understand. So that's in a way, what I try to do with my landscapes. That's why they're metaphorical, because they're not about the landscape. They're about perhaps my journey and or the audience's journey in this case.
That's great. And so what I love, because I love that you've been talking about how you came to painting, and now I'm hearing a lot of, since would you consider your work abstract, or do you consider your work landscape? Because I hear you talking a lot about abstract natures of things.
It's funny. The other day I was actually home, and my partner passes by, and she saw me, and she was like, "What's wrong? You're thinking?" And I just look at her, and I was like, I'm afraid of becoming an abstract painter. And she started laughing too. I was like, no, I'm serious. My work, I've never considered it abstract, but I think that if we're gonna talk about it in an academical way, yeah, it is abstract. It could even be abstract expressionism in a way, because it is, but
well, and let's pause and let's put in some definitions here. So if you were thinking about, and Farron, you can contribute to this definition too. If we're thinking about a traditional definition of a landscape painter, what is that versus what is a traditional definition of an abstract painter, or the work, right? Landscape versus abstract. What are they, and what's the difference?
I think that the word landscape, I think that when I think, can I answer this through my work perhaps?
Sure.
My landscapes started more as actual landscapes, right? And I feel like the more comfortable I get with them, the looser they get.
Now, you just said they started as actual landscapes. So what is an actual landscape? When you're thinking let's go back to this is not a pipe, but it is a pipe. You know what I'm saying? Uh-huh.
A landscape, an actual landscape. We're talking about nature. We're talking about a forest, a valley, landscape.
So just looking at, does it have to be nature? Can it be a city landscape?
No. So, okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Let's define it. When I think about the word landscape, or what they mean within my body of work, it's purely a nature space, almost like an encompassing space that you're surrounded entirely by nature, and there is nothing else reminding you of perhaps humanity. That is I don't tend to paint signs or add birds or animals to my compositions. I just want you to be present with that nature. Perhaps when you're in the middle of a forest, or in a specific moment during the day, and you just hear the wind, and it's just you and that nature. That's what my definition of the landscape is.
And so with landscape is the idea that you would paint exactly what's there.
So yes, that's
like a traditional landscape.
Right. So that's what I meant by my landscapes started more like landscapes.
So painting exactly what's there, the bark of the tree, the texture of the leaves.
100%. And just perhaps like a photographer who is capturing exactly what's out there, trying to capture some other essence within that image that everybody is able to see, even when I'm doing it, or when I took the picture or the photographer takes a picture. But they were just landscapes.
So like Bob Ross, happy little trees.
Yeah, not necessarily, but yeah.
Sorry for the poor analogy.
No. It's fine. I love Bob Ross. But yeah, they were more about, they were more representational, I would say.
Okay.
There you go.
Great.
Yeah.
And so when you fear you're shifting into abstract, when we're talking about abstract painting, what does that mean?
So at least I can tell you my definition of it.
Yeah.
Without diving into historical context or anything, my definition of when my abstraction, it's pretty much the need that I have as a painter to break down that referential composition that I'm making, like that landscape that is specifically a solid landscape, like the trees are trees, there is nothing a different color, there is nothing in there that will make you question this is not a landscape. This is a landscape. I see the trees, I see the sky. So my need to break that in within the image, but still keeping it as a visual landscape. You're still understanding that this is a landscape, but I am breaking the image down. I am I think it's like I'm playing with brushstrokes in a different way, and what it does, suddenly this composition is not as tight anymore. It has movement, and in becoming more abstract or loose, that movement then makes you feel like perhaps what I was talking about, like when you're in the landscape by yourself and like you just hear the wind and like the trees moving slowly a little bit through the branches, and it's just that you don't feel anything else. And normally that lasts for a few seconds, whether you're with someone else on a trail or you're by yourself. Either like an airplane passes by or like an animal passes by, and immediately you're distracted. But like there is usually a sweet spot that we get to experience in nature, that it's what I'm trying to capture by breaking down my compositions into more abstract forms.
So kind of trying to capture that moment of flow?
In a way, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so by shifting into the abstract, what part of representational painting disperses when you shift? Like what kind of representational painting disperses when you're shifting from representational to abstract? And I guess personally for you, like why do you feel it's not representational anymore?
Well, so in this show, you're actually will be able to see the paintings that are with more representational, with the green foliage and everything. I started dabbing into the abstract already within them. They're not like like super tight compositions. They're like blobs of paint applied into a surface that just happen to look like a landscape when you look at them from far. But if you get very close, they're not. They're like blobs of paint. So I think that in pushing that type of composition, I was, I got myself into like creating the other side of this show, the red paintings that people are going to be able to see, which to me, not only it became more about the tree branch and less about the foliage, but it also became about playing with color, changing the color, and like perhaps it's the red landscapes, right? Like you can see red flowers on a tree, but like a complete red landscape, no. Like we're not even in Mars. So well, I mean, yeah, but that's kind of orange. But like trees, we're talking about trees. We're talking about branches. We're talking about everything that is like almost like bloody red. It's like an eerie red, and I call it bloody because that's what it is. It's like it's a color that is meant to. It's meant to make you question, like this is not supposed to be here. This plant is not typically this color, right? So I think that to me is a way of like abstracting it and like losing, perhaps, like, you know, it's shifting into like utilizing this color that is. So I'm losing that aspect of the traditional landscape, right?
So you're shifting into different kinds of color saturation that don't exist in the landscape traditionally.
Right. While at the same time, and I'm doing this because I'm more comfortable doing that than immediately tackling what I hope to accomplish at some point, which is complete form abstraction. And I think that when, you know, you have to like look at art from, it's not all fun and games. Sometimes you have to look at it from the academical point of view. And like when you look at other great painters, and especially if you're lucky enough to, you know, have one that you really like and they're still alive, I feel like when you analyze what they're doing, the more a painter or an artist gets comfortable with their craft, the more abstract it tends to become.
What do you mean?
For instance, I could like one of my favorite painters, Alex Katz. He started so very, you know, like I wouldn't call mediocre, but like a normal painter, like someone that could mix color, but it was nothing crazy, nothing great. Went to art school, but then there was a shift. And in the 70s, his work, it's all about his wife, about people in New York, great compositions. But if you look at what he did in the 70s and 80s versus what he's doing now that he's in his 90s, he's like 93, 94, I believe. He's like very old.
Okay.
He's still painting, and it's the subject matter is still somehow there. But now it's sometimes as minimalistic as a brushstroke in the middle of like a completely black canvas. And yeah, there is color in there because it's not just a brushstroke in the canvas. Even the color behind the complete that completes the painting. But that tendency of and this is something that I've seen in other painters as well. Like not everybody, but as a painter, I tend to look at painters, right?
Sure.
So. There is a tendency of, and perhaps not necessarily like for the work to be immediately abstract, but in understanding more your work, there is a need to do less because you understand less is more. That's what it is. It becomes that. It becomes
kind of a distillation.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. If you get to and I hope to get to that point at some time in life that you know, I would love to get to the point that I understand my landscapes as such that just something as a brushstroke in the middle of a canvas could still for other people be conveyed as a landscape, you know, for the audience.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you think, because you're talking about like artists and how their work evolves and distills. So where are you on that artist journey?
I'm very young. I'm so premature. I have so much ahead of me. Yeah. I just basically merely started like this is like my second, like I said, big body of work, and now it's coming to terms with my first body of work in this show. So yeah, I'm still fresh and painting. So painting is not dead.
Well, and so when did you, because you said you went to UCF, did you get a BFA or what was your degree?
Yeah, so I came to Valencia 2014, 2016, got my A from here, and then went to UCF, and then I completed there my BFA. Yeah, I got a bachelor's in fine arts, studio art, in painting, and also an art history degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what did you learn in the painting classes? Like through those was it an additional 2 years?
Yeah, it was 2 years, yeah. So four semesters, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. So what did that add? What'd you learn?
So It's interesting because the first time I took painting in there, it reminded me pretty much of the painting class that I had taken here in Valencia, where it was very structural, almost like drawing. Here is a set of rules to mix colors, but ultimately you're drawing or like painting this. I just realized that audience members can't see my
your quotes.
My quotes, quotation, but you're still doing, and giving it's a prompt, it's an assignment. You're in a class, but the way you're approaching painting, it's still, structural. And so that first class that I took was not fun at all. And that's when I was still, am I going to be a drawer? How do I, take this into like a serious professional career? But then I decided to stick with it, and I went to advanced painting. And in advanced painting, you are given the pretty much the you achieve conceptual. You go into conceptual mode heavily, and it's not necessarily anymore about what you're painting. It's about the concept behind it. It's not about what you're representing. It's about what you're trying to say, and you get all the critiques, and you get like to have, I guess, classes in a different, I guess, like in a studio environment with other peers that are at the same level, and that does something to you as a young artist. It motivates you. And it leads to very healthy critique forms, because you're seeing what other people are doing, but because everybody it's in their head with their own concept, you don't know what the painting is about. And so perhaps someone might have seen my early landscapes and be like, oh, this guy is just like painting trees. Wrong. So, but yeah, I think that it's not until I got into advanced painting with Carla Poindexter at UCF that I got a push into like, this doesn't have to be technically structural. It doesn't have to be, it's I can like mold it the same way ceramicists could perhaps throw on the wheel, or just, go at it with their hands and do like, I don't know, so like slag, or how do you call it, the coil? But yeah, same way.
Okay, so going to UCF got you to shift your perspective from structural into conceptual. And it sounded like you did a lot of work really crafting what you wanted to say and then representing that idea via painting.
Well, it's I guess that's a tough question, because if I would have answered that, I wouldn't be painting anymore. So, it's...
So if you knew what you wanted to say, you wouldn't be painting?
No. Like, it shifts, because the thing is that, like, I know what I want to say, but at the same time, I don't want to say it all. And also, I'm still evolving. I'm still learning new things to say. And so, do I want to say those things in the same way that I've been doing it? Do I want to get more abstract? Do I want to, So it's an always evolving game, where your craft, your medium, but conceptually, you're always evolving, especially if you're working with the same subject matter. Some artists, some painters tend to do, 10 portraits, and then they go into like doing a body of work that is all landscape or all, I don't know, like city landscapes or other types of landscapes, and then they go back to abstract, and then they do like 10 more portraits, and it works like that because there are different bodies of work, different concept behind. But I feel like when your work, it's intimate, it would always be evolving, because it's almost like a always longing for answers in a way, and trying to represent that through the work. So yeah, like for instance, my paintings are never, none of my landscapes lead you anywhere. They're always going through. So I feel like the moment they lead you somewhere, that's it. I move on into something else. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
I think it does. And so it sounds like for you, the process of painting is the process of asking a question.
In a way, yeah.
And the question is not even necessarily answered by the painting, just perhaps
Yeah, or sometimes it's more about a specific moment perhaps in my life where I had a question or I was going through I don't want to say something, but like, you know, a specific moment where like I'm learning something new or I'm experiencing something new, and you might feel either lost or you might feel like eager about it, or that, you know, whatever that feeling is, it's just I'm just putting you as the audience who perhaps have had the same feeling in the middle of like a metaphorical forest for you to feel it along, right? And like that, I guess, I guess that in itself, it's an always evolving question. You know, it's a question that is never answered.
Okay.
I don't know if.
No,
Yeah.
I think that's great. So the question evolves, and as you paint, the question evolves,
100%,
and as you paint more, the question evolves, and maybe it's the moment, and maybe it's the question.
Well, it's just that there is always new questions, you know, and there's always new. Why am I doing this, and on what is this going, and where do I fit within it, and so that it's what leads, I guess, yeah.
So what would you say? What I've been hearing you say is your artwork is personal. It's very intimate. I've heard you say that it's kind of like each piece is like a page in a diary or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So what would you say your work is about?
So my work is about I as a painter, I utilize the landscape in a metaphorical way, right? As a universal vehicle to just convey snaps or synapses of my personal life that are as short as perhaps when we were talking about being in the forest and just that microsecond or a couple seconds where it's just you on the wind and like nothing else. Yeah. So it's just specific moments in my life growing up, moving here. It has to do a lot with immigration, the immigration process, obviously. Questioning who you are, how do I fit in, learning who you are becoming, especially like kind of like living a culture and regaining a new culture, all that pull and push. It's the type of questioning that I'm asking myself, and so these works are perhaps snapshots of these moments in my life that are non-representational and are, you know, being given to you in this not abstract yet, but metaphorical landscape way.
That's great. So it's a lot of questions of identity.
Yeah, 100%. I think that goes married to the idea of like, you know, having to go somewhere else. You know, you're you, but like you're definitely create a new identity. A new person is born within you that then has to kind of negotiate terms with who you used to be, and that can be very deep, or it can be not. It can be super, you know, whatever. But especially, you know, in my personal case, coming to America, coming to the States when I was like 15 years old, and coming from a place where like at 15 years old you're already pretty much like a grown up, like 18, I would say. I already have like a mentality. I already have like an idea who I want to be, and then in that switching, you have to reconsider all of that, right? And so yeah.
That's great. So what advice would you have for somebody who wanted to be an artist?
Well, you're putting the hands of millions probably in my hands, but just stick to I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna talk about like go to school or not go to school, but like if you want to be an artist, just keep questioning it, you know, because the moment you feel content with it, I don't think that, you know, keep questioning why I do this. It's I'm finding that pull and push within you as an artist, and the work, it's what keeps you going. And if you, as an artist, if you abandon that right away, like as a person that is trying to become an artist, if you're, you know, demotivated or like someone shut it down, it's very easy for people to just like, you know, let it go. And yeah, just stick to your craft. Do your thing, you know.
So sticking to the craft. And by
100%.
sticking to the craft, does that mean pursue training? Does that mean just practice every day? Does that, like, what does that mean?
That, well, I mean, do at least, you know, like 30 minutes a day by yourself, but also like look at it. Am I having fun with it? Like, if you're not having fun with it, then that's probably not your thing, you know? So stick to your craft and learn from it. See what it tells you.
That's great. And how do you hope that audiences will interpret your paintings?
Hopefully not as just landscapes, traditional landscapes. I hope that they're not gonna know what they're about specifically, like to the personal detail, but I hope that at least they question themselves, like why there's nothing here, why the color, why, you know, why the size, why the composition, you know. I hope that they see something beyond the actual like representational landscape, the tree and the foliage and the
Okay, so you hope that they ask questions about the reason for the choices.
Yeah, 100%, because I think that you know, it's a painting, it's a choice, that there were choices that were made in there for a reason. So yeah.
Okay, and is there any painting which painting speaks to you the most
out of this body of work?
Yeah,
in the show?
out of the work that we will see when we join you in the gallery.
I think Fall+Leo. It's a big one. It's a 5x6. It's a green landscape of like an open space, surrounded by like trees. And yeah, I think that one is always like, when I look at it, in a way, it reminds me of you know, arriving here and being like with fresh eyes and like seeing all the opportunity. It's kind of like a big opening space. Yeah, I resonate with that painting a lot.
How come?
It just I feel like when I did it, it was not, you know, I was thinking about something else, and then when I finished it, it was more personal than I thought, you know. And then it just reminds me of like specific moments of like when I didn't know anything about being here, you know, like what was I gonna do, or just having all that front of opportunity and like things to learn, right? And so when I look at this painting, that is kind of like that opening, you know, it reminds me of like that avenue. That it just reminds me of that.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
So we're almost out of time. Is there anything that you wish I'd asked you that you'd like to talk about?
I think you've covered all pretty well. I didn't, and I'm glad that we ended up not talking about like just an hour of Cuba. You know, it was more about my art. So yeah, no, I think this is good. If you have any questions after the show is up, I would love to, you know, hear your perspective on it.
I would love to. And I know that I got to take a quick look at the gallery. It's not fully hung yet, but the scale is really stunning.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. So I've got our rapid fire questions.
All right.
We've got 10. If we get to all of them, great. If we don't, also fine. But just answer them as quickly as you can.
Okay.
Fill in the blank. Creativity is.
Great.
What motivates you the most?
Painting.
Just painting.
Painting.
Wow. In 1 to 3 sentences, describe your favorite creative project.
My favorite creative project. Pass. I don't.
Okay.
I don't. Right now, I don't.
What is the best or worst advice you ever received regarding your creative field?
Stick to it. Stick to my craft.
And that was the best or the worst?
I think that was the best. And I didn't understand it at the beginning. I thought someone was just joking with me and being like, oh my God. But no, stick to it, because you really, if it's important to you, you won't be able to abandon it. Stick to it.
Okay. Well, why is it hard to stick to it?
No. I'm not saying that it's hard to stick to it, but when you stick to something, you pretty much find out whether this is for me or this is not for me. And some people like the outcome of something, but they don't like the process of making something. So when you stick to art, I feel like that specific, every medium, every craft, it's not just a line. You have to like do stuff. And so if you don't enjoy the process and you just enjoy the outcome, then maybe you're not an artist. You're an art, a collector.
Yeah. So enjoying not just the product, but but sticking to the process.
Right. Yeah.
And sticking with the process long enough to explore.
Yeah. To learn
what
from
your
it.
personal process might be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, only if you enjoy it. Because if you
if you don't like it,
if
do
you
something
don't like
else.
it, don't even
Life is short.
question that. Yeah, exactly. Move on.
Okay. Next question. What is one warning sign you watch for when considering taking on a project?
Time. Time is everything. And I sometimes with paintings, I become very ambitious. So yeah, time. Yeah.
That's great. And how do you stay current in your practice? So that could be routine, that could be observation, it could be painting 30 minutes a day, it could be taking classes, but how do you stay current?
So I do have a studio practice at home. My partner is also a painter. So I feel like even if I wanted to, I can't really escape it, which is great. And that keeps me very, it keeps me at it. We go to the studio like an hour, 3 times a week. And also during, like in my other side of my life, I've always been involved with museums and art institutions and spaces like that. So whether I'm a member or I've been working for a space like that, I feel like that like being part of the art world always reminds me of like, oh my God, create, go home and like do something. And it's always good to see what other people are doing. I feel like that that keeps me not getting bored, because some people can just like get bored of even their own work or like what I don't know, but like I feel like seeing what other artists in the community are doing, especially artists that I know, and talking about it, and like not seeing someone for like 3 months, and then we meet again in a gallery, and like I see complete new paintings, and we're talking about it. I feel like that's great. That's
Okay, so the way you stay current is, I mean, it sounds like you really are proactive about this. So you have a studio practice. And so studio practice, what does that mean?
So just going to, sometimes studio practice can be as simple as going into the studio and not creating anything, but just being in the studio. Sometimes you just have to listen to yourself. If you we're all humans at the end. Like if you want to paint something, but like it didn't go that way, or you just like, no, you're not feeling it, but I feel like still going into the studio, surrounding yourself by your craft, by what you're doing, thinking about it, it's good. And like, so that's what I mean by a studio practice. Like try to be present in your studio, or if you don't have a studio, try to be present in your craft. You grab whatever you're painting or you're drawing, and like go to a table and like draw, like do your thing, stay active.
So having a studio practice means, to you, it means scheduling time to paint or try to paint or think about painting, and that time is focused on that.
Right. To be present in art.
So it's not necessarily going to a studio where you pay for time or going somewhere where somebody's coaching you. It's just taking the time to focus and do it.
Sorry. No, I should have like, no. A studio to me is like my studio, my personal studio.
Okay.
I'm like, no, not going somewhere. Like just like being in with your craft, like understanding it or creating or,
Oh, that's great. So studio practice, plus you stay in conversation within the art world, plus you're working in museums, plus you're seeing what other artists are doing.
Like I said, I can't escape it.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Okay, next question. You're creatively blocked, but the deadline is real. How do you get unstuck?
Creatively blocked, but the deadlines. I think I become more abstract for that piece. Prematurely abstract. No, I think that that's why it's very important to always create work that speaks to yourself, and that could be like a complete another hour of a conversation where, because like obviously as an artist you have to survive and like you have to make a living, and often you do commissions and stuff like that. But I feel like if we're talking about your art, there should be like no, it shouldn't feel like a deadline unless we're talking about like a class or something like that. Like a specific you know what I'm saying?
I do.
It shouldn't feel like that. It shouldn't feel like you're doing work. Yeah.
All right. And are you ever trying to finish pieces for a show or for a commission or for something like that?
So I feel like with painters, and I'm gonna speak for every painter that I know, the problem is always knowing when to stop. Like stop, like leave it, it's perfect, like leave it, and then you just continue painting, and then 3 people come by and they're like stop, like it's great, and you just continue painting. So I feel like if you get on the mindset of like understanding yourself as an artist when it's good to stop, that gives you more time. But again, it's also going back to the other question, it shouldn't feel like a task. So if you're doing this, and like even if you're doing it in a professional way where like you're applying to shows, you're like presenting your work, like me and my partner do residencies around the country, and you just prepare yourself for that, because you should be eager. You're trying to do these things to propulse your art, your career. Mm-hmm. So it's something that you should plan. It shouldn't be rushed. Yeah, I don't know. I don't tend to be painting until the last minute.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that answer. And the last question for today, what is one thing you are deeply grateful for right now?
I don't want to say the art community that I have around me, but in a way I want to say that, yeah, the people that are in my surroundings that are part of the community, the art community in here in Central Florida, that have not only provided me so much, but it creates that it creates like a family. Like we all know, and the art world is only so big, so you get to start knowing everybody and kind of like understanding who people are, and that I feel like centers you as a person. Mm-hmm. Being an artist can be very tough. Yeah. So I feel like having that sense of, let's call it sense of community, like having that sense of like community, it's ideal, because you can always interact. You can always like, okay, like I'm doing this, like what's going on over here. It's not by yourself in this crazy art world where you have to navigate fine art, commercial art, commission work. It's yeah.
I love that. So I love being grateful for the art community.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be.
Oh, yeah. I'm grateful for it here in Orlando, too, Central Florida. All right. Well, Leo, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been great.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And for those of you listening, please come out and see Leo's show. It is available in the Anita Wooten Gallery from September 19th all the way through October 18th. And you can join that gallery from 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if you would like to meet Leo, and if you would like to enjoy the festivities of a gallery opening, please join us on September 19th at 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m.
6
p.m.
Yeah. Although Leo will not be at the gallery opening.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So you can't meet Leo at the opening,
sorry.
but you can still see his work and enjoy delicious hors d'oeuvres while you look at his work. And I hope that this interview has given you some questions to think about while you look at these images. All right. Well, thank you, and we are so glad that you are here with us. Thank you for being part of the School of Arts, Entertainment, and Design community. And we will talk to you later on Embracing the Bold.